In the aftermath of several days during which the Israeli Defense Forces had been amassing on the border in anticipation of a ground offensive into Gaza, an evacuation order was issued for over 1 million people in the region. This move came in response to last weekend's attacks by members of Hamas, a group designated as a terrorist organization by numerous Western governments, including the UK. These attacks resulted in the deaths of over 1,300 people, with more than 100 hostages taken. The situation had escalated with several days of airstrikes on Gaza, leading to the deaths of approximately 1,000 Palestinians, including 600 children. The evacuation order instructed residents in the territory to move south of Wadi Gaza. However, Hamas dismissed the order as propaganda, while the Palestinian ambassador to the United Nations decried it as ethnic cleansing. The UN Secretary-General emphasized the importance of adhering to the rules of war. Israel, aware of the historical context, understood that airstrikes alone wouldn't break the will of its enemy, Hamas, and that a ground operation might be necessary to achieve their goals. Part of this preparation involved issuing non-lethal airdrop leaflets that carried a veil threat, urging people to move south. This situation brought to mind the history of Gaza's residents, many of whom were descendants of Palestinians who fled or were forcibly displaced during Israel's independence war in 1948. The ongoing conflict between Israelis and Palestinians had mainly occurred in the West Bank before the recent Hamas assault. The West Bank was tense and potentially volatile. Jerusalem, the epicenter of the conflict, was filled with foreboding. Older Palestinians were allowed to pray at Al-Aqsa Mosque, while younger men were banned due to perceived security risks. There was a palpable sense of danger, and this crisis represented the most severe Middle East crisis in a generation. The UN was called upon to intervene, with the Palestinian United Nations envoy appealing for more action to prevent what they termed a crime against humanity. In Gaza, essential supplies such as fuel, food, and water were dwindling. Israel had imposed a blockade and insisted it wouldn't lift it until Hamas released all the hostages taken during the recent attack. Meanwhile, life in Gaza remained under siege, as Israel continued its relentless airstrikes targeting Hamas. The devastation was painfully apparent, and the civilian population suffered greatly. First responders and paramedics worked tirelessly amidst the chaos, often under the threat of further attacks. Doctors in Gaza's hospitals faced a never-ending stream of casualties, including women and children with severe injuries. The situation was grim, and it was evident that the region was in the midst of a dire crisis, with no clear resolution in sight.